Greetings, my name is JC,
And I'm Ian.
and this is the Gamers Gaiden. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about physical media and digital media.
Yeah, real like hard turn from just talking about some different genres, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, we figured we'd spice things up a little bit and talk about something that's really changed over the last few years, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get into that soon. But before we start, let's get into what we've been playing.
What have you been playing this week, JC?
Yeah, mine's pretty quick. As I mentioned in the last episode, I have gone back to League and I am still full steam. Road to Gold, and right now I'm sitting at 71 LP in Silver 1. So if I technically win the next two games, which may or may not happen, then I'll be in my promos, best of 5. So that's what I've been doing. That and playing Flex Queue with my friends to try and rank up because I think I got the bottom of the barrel whenever. Well, I didn't get iron. I
I
think
did.
I got bronze 4 whenever I qualified, and then through the LP I got to like bronze 1, and now I'm about to get into my promos for silver 4 for flex. So because I used to be silver in that as well, but yeah. So that's basically all I've been doing. Basically just playing Jarvan and Zyra constantly.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. And but you've been joining in on some of those with the flex games.
Yep, I've been playing some of the flex games with you, which has
Yep.
been it's actually been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have played a little bit of ranked on my own, but
Mm-hmm.
not too much. Yeah, I've been trying to diversify and play a little bit more. This has been a bit of a challenging week because I had actually had to do a whole lot of stuff at work.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
was
because you worked a bunch of extra shifts.
Yeah, I was at work for most of the week, but most of my home time, because it was kind of sporadic, was still playing some Final Fantasy VII. I'm about 15 hours into it now,
Cool.
so we're getting there. I'm still on disc 1, but
Right.
yeah, I'm having fun with it. I haven't had any further issues with my Switch version, which is nice.
Oh, okay. And what part of the game are you at?
I'm I went to I just got the Tiny Bronco,
Mm-hmm.
and I went over to Wutai.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get the Yuffie stuff done now,
Mm-hmm.
and then continue on with the Temple of the Ancients, and
All that good stuff.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. I should be. I'll probably finish it in the next week or so.
Right.
But it's been enjoyable revisiting the story again because it's been a couple of years for me.
Yeah, especially with the new episode coming out eventually, it'll be more fresh in your mind at least. Because
Yeah,
it's been a few years since you've played FF7.
yeah. It
Yeah,
definitely it's been a few years. I mean, I've played it on and off, but like usually just the first, just to
like the
like
first disc.
get out of Midgar, and
Right.
then usually something else comes out, or I kind of
Mm-hmm.
lose focus. But because we're in a bit of a drought at the moment, with
Yeah, a little bit.
we don't have like huge releases. Like Rage 2 is out,
Yeah,
but
Druidstone.
it's that's right,
Yeah.
Druidstone. I mean,
And that game that you mentioned last week, A Plague Tale, which I forgot about. And then all of a sudden I got an email saying, hey, your pre-order is being shipped from Amazon. And I'm like, wait, that's the game Ian mentioned. What was
that
this
was a game you
again?
mentioned.
Rewatched the trailer. I'm like, oh, yeah, I wanted to play that.
Yeah, did you get a chance? Oh no, you
No,
didn't.
I didn't
You
ever
would
play
have
League
mentioned
of.
it otherwise. That's
Yeah,
right.
maybe next week.
I have not had a chance to play it yet either, but hopefully by next week I will have. Though I did, Nintendo had a bunch of great sales in the eShop
Okay, cool.
this week, so I actually grabbed a couple of
It's
things.
kind of nice how the Nintendo store is now more recently actually doing sales because
Yeah.
originally for like almost like most of the first like 8 months or 10 months or whatever, they just weren't really doing any good sales.
No, and there's some really big ones. Like I all of the SteamWorld games were discounted
Right.
up to a point. I think you can get the original Dig for like under $4.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. So I grabbed a little game called Mana Spark.
Spark.
Yep. I wrote it down and forgot what it was called. And it's really cute.
Okay.
It's like a dungeon crawler, um, top down. Well, not top down. Like
Isometric.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see wandering around. You get the map of you get the layout of the level that you're on,
Right.
but the different rooms are grayed out.
Okay.
There are some like red barriers between them, which would be locks. So you
Okay.
have to find the switches to
Gotcha.
open those locks. And then each room has different enemies. which do take different amounts of shots because you only have an arrow, at least that I've found so far.
Okay.
So you have a bow, and then you have a secondary, which is it could be an offensive item. It could also be a support item.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, and then you pick up these random like trinkets, which add different stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really interesting.
Cool.
It has the same kind of progression as like a Dead Cells or Rogue Legacy,
Oh, okay.
where you have the like a central area that
Right. The
you're
hub world.
yeah,
Yep.
well, not I don't want to say like a hub world, but you have like a camp
Okay. Yeah.
which
It's a
which
hub.
you're able to upgrade,
Okay.
which will then transfer into the dungeon.
Oh, okay.
So then you head from the camp down into the dungeon, and the dungeon changes every time. And
Okay. Kind of like a roguelike wizardry kind of like it sounds
yeah,
like. Okay.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've been having
And it's an action RPG game, obviously.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Though I haven't found other weapons.
Right.
I don't think there are other weapons.
Okay. Maybe it's
Um,
just based off of your class then.
It might be. I haven't found other classes
Oh,
either.
okay, cool.
So it's just
Fair
the
enough.
though I think there may be, but you at least start as a hunter
Okay.
with a bow.
Cool.
But it's actually been a lot of fun. I probably spent 2 hours with it last night,
Right.
and maybe another hour this morning.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I have been enjoying it. And then another like little quick one was Akane
Mhm.
for the Switch. I was actually playing it between rounds of League last night because
Right.
it's very, very quick. One hit kill. It reminds me a little bit of like Smash TV,
Okay.
where you have or Robotron,
All right. I haven't played that game.
where you
I
have
played
like
Smash TV though.
you've got a screen and then various enemies that come in.
Mhm.
There's no progressing to other screens.
Oh, okay.
It's always the one same.
So it's like an arena combat.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then just hordes of opponents piling in,
Mhm.
and you've got a katana and a gun of some sort.
Right.
There are like missions,
Mhm.
which are generally like get X amount of combo or
Oh, okay.
shoot X amount of enemies,
Right.
that kind of stuff. And then as you complete those, you'll unlock some different gear, which does have that does have like stat boosts.
Oh, okay.
But I
That's
haven't
kind of
really seen
interesting.
stat increases.
Huh.
What is really interesting to me though is when you pause the game,
Mhm.
it gives you the like the controller layout with all the buttons and stuff.
Right.
And the controller is the Xbox One controller.
Yeah, you mentioned this in between our matches last night, actually.
They
And I was
didn't,
like, really? Oh, come on, guys.
I know,
That's
right?
terrible.
All you had to do was put a different image and
Mm-hmm.
then point out the different buttons, but instead,
Yeah. To
They-
circle back on the one comment that you made about like you basically get gear off of like doing some gamification stuff, like
Yes.
kill 15 enemies and stuff like that.
yeah,
I find that interesting because it's kind of like rewarding the player for actually getting like what a normal achievement would be, like shoot 15 guys with a
Yeah.
shotgun, and it's like, oh, here's the new weapon for doing that, or something like that. That's actually
There-
a really neat idea.
the ones that I have at the moment,
Mhm.
they seem really easy, but they're surprisingly challenging.
Yeah.
Like I think the first one was get a 30 kill streak
Mm-hmm.
with or a 30 combo multiplier with 100% katana accuracy.
Wow. Okay.
So that was, which sounds kind of easy, but it wasn't.
Okay.
Like it took me a few playthroughs to get it. I'm trying to get I think it's shoot 50 enemies right now,
Oh, okay.
but you only have 100 before the first boss.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be shooting every other dude, and it's pretty tough.
Right.
You only have so many shots, which like you don't reload it.
Okay.
It progressively reloads over time.
Oh, okay.
So you also have a stamina bar as well
Mm-hmm.
for your like katana swings.
Right.
So they basically work the same. It's like you have stamina for your katana and you have stamina for your gun.
Oh, okay.
But honestly, I paid under $5 for both of them,
Oh, cool.
like together. I think. Yeah, they were not very expensive.
Do they come in a bundle?
Nope,
Oh,
they
okay,
were
just
they were individual and they were both like just right up at the top there. And
Awesome.
I had wanted to pick up Manual Samuel
Okay.
because I'd heard it was really really weird.
Okay.
And yeah, after I downloaded that, I just happened to be looking at the shop, and I was like, "Oh, these look neat."
Mm-hmm.
Haven't touched Manual Samuel. Hopefully, I'll let you know about it next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, these were nice little finds.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of a little bonus to the week. So, which is really interesting because that kind of will lead into our discussion there,
Mm-hmm.
sort of.
Yeah, so let's talk about some aspects of physical and digital media. So we're going to break this out into first talking about what we like about digital and physical media. We'll start off with digital. So I'll start us off. One thing that I really like, especially as a collector who has many consoles and many games, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well because we have about the same size collection, is okay, sure. There's no physical storage other than a hard
Yeah,
drive. That's a big plus.
it's a huge
And even
plus.
then, in a lot of the distribution platforms, I really like how you can have all of your games and they can be up in the cloud essentially or on the platform, and then you can only download and you can choose to download what you want to play at the time. Because like with GOG, for example, like I just after I'm done playing it, I just uninstall it and like leave it in my collection. I don't really
Yeah,
worry about it. And like I do the same. Like if I haven't played a game in a really really long time, then like I haven't played Civ 4 in a really long time, so like I've uninstalled it. So
shame.
yeah, it was a good game, but onto newer and better games.
It is
Let's.
a huge bonus though, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't have. I mean, at the worst, if you want to have everything downloaded and available to you, you have like a couple of external hard drives.
Yeah,
You're taking
depending on
up.
how big your collection is.
But I mean, you can pick up like a 4 or 8 terabyte
Mm-hmm.
external for like $200.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that cheap, but it
They're
is
not
considerably
super
cheaper.
expensive. Like
Yeah.
I have a four that I think I paid about $100 for.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I did get it on sale, but
Right. If you shop around, you can definitely get some good
yeah,
deals.
you really can, and
Yeah.
it's like you have a couple of those, you're taking up, this much space,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and that's a giant bonus. And a lot like it's not just PC. A lot of the consoles you can hook up an external hard drive to now.
Yeah.
You don't
In
have
the
to worry about.
PlayStation, I don't know if this is true about the Xbox One. Maybe you can confirm, but you can replace the hard drive with a larger one. And
The Xbox One, I think it voids your warranty,
oh,
whereas
okay.
with the PS4, it's an easy install. Like
Yeah.
I'm not super great with that stuff, and I upgraded my hard drive in my original
Nice.
PS4. Um, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and it was real easy. Plus, you can get benefits from it because I put a solid state
Right.
1 terabyte drive in there, and like your load times do improve.
Mm-hmm. For
So
sure.
it's yeah,
Yeah, and you can do the same thing whether or not it's to come full circle and close the no physical storage with the consoles or the computer.
mhm,
It's not exclusive to using like Epic, Steam, or GOG, etc. and so on. With your consoles, with the PlayStation, you do have limited space, and sure, it's taking your bandwidth, which we'll get into later in things we don't like, but you can just you don't have to have all those discs and do the exact same thing on your consoles. But yeah, moving over to the next point, Ian. I think you had.
well, it's a lot easier to like to find your digital games.
Mm-hmm. The
It
easier to index for sure.
exactly
I have printer
like
boxes in storage for each console, and it's like, okay, well, I've labeled this one as PS2, but like, where in PS2 is it? Like,
yeah,
hopefully, it's alphabetical.
yeah, like and like if you as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I know sometimes I would have the bad habit of popping a disc out
Mm-hmm.
and putting it in the case of the new thing I was putting in.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah, and you'd always like, oh, I'm gonna play this game, and you take the disc out and you put it in the new games case, and you
yeah,
put it on the shelf and you forget about it. I
and
still do
it
that.
got even worse with the PS2 because now you could have a movie, like it could
Yeah,
be a DVD. So you're like, "Oh yeah, I want to watch this movie." And you pull it off and you're like,
I think I
Why is
mis
Metal Gear in here?"
I
Like,
think I misplaced Final Fantasy X that way actually, because like I think it ended up being in like I don't know Gladiator or something like that, and it was just like out, but it, like transferred a couple of cases,
Yeah.
and it's just like there was like multiple cases just messed up, and I had to go through and
And
then
it
refind
happens real
everything.
easily.
Yeah, yeah,
You
more
know, it's
surprisingly, a lot easier than you would think.
and like I know I didn't have like a game case or anything for
Hmm.
my DS,
Yeah,
but I would, if I was going away, I would pick a case and
hmm,
probably throw like 4 or 5 cartridges in there.
yeah,
So then I'm only taking one case and I've got
yep,
all those extra games.
yeah,
But
and just
again,
like
yeah, like
indexing your stuff as well is a lot easier, where you can just kind of search for it. As long as it's on that you know what platform it's on, then it's like,
yes.
okay, I know it's underneath Steam. Okay, let's just quickly find it. And no matter if you have 900 games or 20 games or 6, then yeah, it's a lot easier to find.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another good point about the digital is that there's potentially more money for developers, especially if you use their client. For example, there's the enhanced engine Baldur's Gate games and Infinity Engine games, and if you use the Beamdog client from Beamdog themselves, they get the most amount of money out of that. Versus if you get it from GOG or Steam, there's no middleman basically,
No, you're buying it
and
straight from them.
yeah, and there's no like actual distributor as well. So you're not paying like shipping costs and like packaging and manufacturing costs and stuff like that. There's a lot less overhead basically that you have to pay for. So
Yeah.
there's potentially a lot more money for the developers.
Which is really nice. Like that's
Hmm.
it's the money going back to where you want it to be.
Yeah.
Um, as important as every aspect is,
Hmm.
ultimately the the people making the games are the ones who should be getting as much of that as possible, so
Yeah.
they keep making them.
Hmm. For sure, because we definitely want more games from our developer houses that we enjoy the most.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Um, the one that I kind of it sort of caught me off guard was, or not off guard, but like it surprised me to think about. But it like digital's way more environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
Like you're
Even
using so much less plastic.
yeah, and even with using like ocean plastics, and because I notice on some of like the packaging now they'll say like 30% ocean plastic and then like 70% recycled plastic. It's like we're still using less resources that we need to be.
Yeah,
Although there's still like the server costs and some of that and whatnot and everything, and it's just still overall a lot less impact on the environment for
yeah,
sure.
way less.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
a nice bonus to it.
Yeah. A big plus, which is a good thing about digital, is that with the advent of like Steam, especially, we can kind of credit them to do this. Is their Steam
Yeah.
sale what in the summer and the winter, and it allows you to discover more games. For example, like a game that I really enjoyed and played recently, Oxenfree, which we talked about in an earlier episode.
Yep.
I got it through a GOG sale, and I wouldn't have probably experienced it otherwise. And now that I'm on board with that developer, I'm going to be buying their next game and probably the game after that. So it allows you to discover and play more games potentially,
As long as you play them.
as long as you actually play all those games that you're buying.
But no,
uh,
I would personally be more inclined to take the risk
mhm.
of, this is $2 and it looks like it might be okay.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was like, this is $15
Hmm.
and looks like it might be okay, but I
Right.
don't know.
Hmm.
If it was $2, well, I mean, like I was literally talking about earlier, I bought Manaspark and Akane because
Hmm.
they looked decent.
Right.
I liked the visual style and I liked the gameplay aspects that they talked about.
Yeah. And even if you only played them for a few hours and
Y-
didn't necessarily like them, the developer's still getting some money. You're still
I
being entertained for a
yeah,
few
I'm
hours.
still it's still entertaining me. So
Yeah.
I'm getting like a couple dollars worth of value out of it,
Yeah.
which is that's important.
Hmm.
I mean, you actually feel like even if I didn't love it, at least you feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas there's been a lot of times I've spent $70 on a game and I've been like,
Or
this,
120 like Anthem.
this game sucks. And you yeah, you're way more likely to roll the dice
Mm-hmm.
on a smaller title
Yep.
than just like if it was full price. And like you said, now I would be more likely if I saw something from that studio to be like, "Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, this is the follow-up from the guys who did this game.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, I'll check this out."
Yeah. Yeah. A next point, kind of two parts at this point, is that distributors are, because a lot of stuff has moved over to online and digital, distributors are both allowed to give free access to games over weekends. For example, they'll give like a free access to Overwatch over a weekend,
Yep.
or Rainbow Six.
Yeah, I've seen
Um,
I've seen Steam do like Rainbow Six. I
mhm.
think they did one of the like Just Cause 3 shortly after it came out.
Yeah.
Like they don't hit it immediately. Like
No.
it's gonna be a little ways down the road. But I
Hmm.
mean like a couple months in, a free weekend of something.
Yeah.
And like I know that they tend to do them with more of the big competitive stuff like Overwatch,
Yes.
Rainbow Six, to a lesser degree For Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a way to it's almost like a rental.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
you have the weekend to play it and determine whether you like it or
Hmm.
not.
And to add to this, one thing that I really like about the digital distribution in moving over to some of the digital stuff is, back whenever we were younger, we would have like freeware discs where
Yep,
you would get them from magazines, or you would go to the store and just get like for a couple bucks or something like that. Like first played Doom that way, for example.
same.
And you would get like the first like world or whatever, and then there'd be a certain number of levels, and you get to try it so to see if you like it. That kind of went away for a really long time, and now that there's easier means to digitally distribute things, a lot more companies are actually making demos for the games that you can just download on the PlayStation 4 or on different platforms and stuff like that.
But
Again,
even the demos aren't necessarily a good indication of what the game has to offer.
that's
Like
true.
that can like a demo can easily be
Catered.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it really can be. Whereas if you're sitting down and playing the game,
Yeah.
like I feel like I played the demo for um oh man, the Zelda-esque game with Jack Black that was all about metal.
Okay. I'm
I
not sure.
cannot remember what it was called.
We'll
But
remember later and put it up here.
yes. And I remember playing the demo for it and I was like, "Oh, cool. This is basically just Zelda
Mm-hmm.
but metal and like with some, appearances by like artists as well as Jack Black as the
Yeah.
lead character." It was a lot of fun. And then you hit a point where there's this like super weird like tower defense kind of strategy sort of thing and it's like an important part of the game.
Right.
I'm like, this sucks. I don't like this. And I hated it. And I hated that part. And I put the game down at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't pick it back up. Um, yeah. If I would have known that that section was there,
Right.
I would never have gone there.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, like it's great that we have access to something like that where you can actually sit down and play the full game
Mm-hmm.
for a weekend. And granted, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who are going to get it for the weekend and just blast through it.
Yeah, beat it.
But I think that's why the tendency is to be more towards things that you cannot just
Yeah,
finish
more
over a
like
weekend.
esports style games,
Yeah,
like
things are a little bit
Overwatch or
more
something
open.
that's not free to play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still good gameplay and there's great mechanics, but is it necessarily for you? Is it something that you would enjoy? So
Yeah.
no, it's nice and it's it- into the next point. It
Mm-hmm.
it also gives you access to a lot of like other content.
Yeah.
Um I enjoy. I know you're not a huge fan of Steam, but I am a huge fan of their new policy of like,
The return policy.
well, I was gonna say the policing yourselves.
Oh, okay.
Like they're gonna they're gonna release content. Like if it goes like goes through their approval process to get on their platform,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna get released.
Yeah.
There's no There's no weird censorship stuff. I I'm not gonna walk down to an EB Games and get a copy of Genital Jousting.
Yeah, or
That's not gonna
some
happen. Or like a
weird.
weird visual
Yeah.
novel, or like any of the things I mentioned in the our weird section. Actually, I had someone message me after that with like, "Hey, you messaged like you brought up this game. You should check out like these other ones because they're super weird."
Oh,
And I'm
okay,
like,
cool.
"Yeah, all right." And like it's all on Steam, and yeah, it's there, and their belief of like it's up to you.
Yeah.
If you want to find explicit games,
Mm-hmm.
they're there. If you don't want to see them, you can option to turn that off.
Yep.
So, you can option to turn it off and cut the Steam store down to like 40 games.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, that's some aspects of the digital platform that we really like. So let's move over to some aspects of the physical.
Physically having something
I know, right?
in my hand,
Yeah, that's so
smelling
great.
it.
Yeah, that plastic smell, the
Yep.
manual. It's like, oh,
Well,
it's new.
you don't get a manual now,
No,
but
you don't get them anymore, but you can buy sealed old games and open them.
oh man, that is such. You can smell what 2000 or the early 90s smelled like.
Yeah,
A lot of shame, mostly, but
yeah,
that's to me that's a huge highlight is
Yeah.
finding something from like the 90s or even the 80s
Mhm.
that's still sealed and being able to crack that open and know that I'm the first person that opened this.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
That is pretty cool. Though I do like keeping some of the stuff sealed, but it really depends on
y-
what it is.
well, yes, yeah. I mean, you're if you want to buy something just to open it,
Yeah.
there are millions of unopened copies of Vegas Stakes. So
Mhm.
it's even though it's not a great game, it's
Yeah.
still a joy to open up something and
But yeah, there's definitely something worth saying about actually owning a product and knowing that as long as it doesn't get destroyed, then you still will have it until you get rid of it. So, yeah. And one thing that I really like about the most, and I think this is getting better over time because people basically have to entice you to buy a physical copy because there's so much digital stuff and it's generally just easier,
Yep.
is the cool collector's editions.
Now, I mean, on the opposite side of that too, I find a lot of like there are some really cool collector's editions that
Mhm.
are coming out, but the tendency at the moment I find with pretty much every major release
Yeah.
is your cool collector's edition is like it comes with a digital code for
Yeah.
the season pass.
That's true. But I'm kind of like thinking of like the Persona one that came with like a bunch of like a plushie and
Yeah,
like
and then
some
the bag
yeah,
and this
and
like soundtrack and an art book.
Yep.
See, those are cool. Those
Yeah.
are good collector's editions.
Yeah, especially I love whenever they come with a soundtrack and an art book. Those
Yes.
are like even if it's a digital collector's edition and it comes with the digital versions of those, that's cool too. But like I will always go out of my way to get like the physical copy of like Before the Storm, for example, that came with the LPs, which was kind of cool, and some other neat physical copies like Anything by Working Designs, for example. Has always been really cool because it would like foil covers and things like that that
That's
are
right.
holographic
I
and
I have a copy of Girl Answer.
oh cool.
What that came with a watch.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
it's
pocket watch,
metal.
right?
No, it's a metal
I thought it
like
was a
wrist.
pocket
It's a
watch.
metal wristwatch.
Oh,
It came with
okay.
a ring and a necklace too.
Yeah,
I'm like, what am I gonna use this for?
yeah.
I'm not gonna. I still like the watch is still in the box. It's never been out.
Yeah,
What? Why?
yeah. But yeah, I've always really liked the cool collector's editions. It's a good enticement, in my opinion, to buy games.
Oh, absolutely. As long as it's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But you also you don't have to worry about the huge downloads as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the other
Minus the day one patches that are
the day
kind of
one
getting
patches.
annoyingly mandatory.
Plus your your exclusive items from your cool collector's edition.
Yeah.
And your season pass.
And your season pass.
But
yeah.
yeah, you generally don't have like I mean with older stuff
Yeah.
specifically, you don't have to worry about downloading
Mhm.
some big file.
But even with like some like my bandwidth is unlimited, so it doesn't really matter to me. But there's a lot of people in North America who have slower speeds,
Yep.
or like one down and like 0.5 up or something like that, and they're have a bandwidth cap. So if they buy a game and it may even two or three of them, it could get very close to the bandwidth cap, especially if they're using it to watch things like Netflix and Hulu
Yeah.
or YouTube and stuff like that. It's you can hit your bandwidth cap surprisingly easily, and
Oh, there was a
yeah,
way like years ago during like an early Steam sale. It as an early Steam sale cost me an extra $100 because I went over limit.
wow, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
And you're not thinking about it at the time.
yeah. I remember my provider used to have unlimited between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. So you'd have to like schedule it so
Yep,
that you would,
I had that
yeah,
at one point too.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a pain, but again, you schedule your downloads and just
Hmm.
get them at that point.
Yeah.
But it's nice with the physical media not having to worry about that.
Yeah.
You know, you can just pop the disc in. Sometimes you do have to wait for it to install
Hmm.
certain assets.
Yeah. And you used to have to do that on a computer too.
Exactly, but at
Installing
least
Baldur's Gate from 6 discs, it just took forever.
yeah, but at least you don't have to worry about like waiting for it to download
Yeah.
and then installing it.
Hmm.
It's just disc in, does its thing. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah. Another aspect of physical media that I really like, and the reason why I've kept all my consoles is emulation generally sucks. There are people who disagree with me, but a couple examples: Genesis sound has always been off, and personally, I own a Neo Geo cabinet, and the I use the Switch as like a substitute for it. In my opinion, the Switch ports run much slower and the sound is off.
I mean, I'd heard that as a general complaint on the Switch ports is that
Hmm.
like in some of the bigger sections,
Yeah.
you can have a lot of like frame rate issues.
Yeah, especially with like games like Metal Slug, for example.
Yeah.
Some of the shoot 'em up games are completely fine. And because like they're, I guess what's going on for the emulator isn't too bloated for it to process. But yeah, it's just some of them. It seems to slow down a little bit with the transitions or too many sprites on the screens. Like Metal Slug is my biggest example
Well,
of that.
it's a beautiful game too. Like
Hmm.
there's for even for now, it
Yeah,
looks amazing.
yeah, they did a really good job on a lot of the Neo Geo games with their artwork and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about that, or you have to worry way less with like slowdowns and stuff like that on the
Hmm.
actual hardware because it
Yeah.
was designed to run
Yeah.
well on that.
And you would have the slowdown on some of those games, obviously, because they're doing things and like they're pushing the console to its limit or the
Yeah.
system at the time to its limit. But it's just it happened. It's an expected amount that it happens. It's not that plus more.
Yeah.
Basically, is kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
But this another thing is you can let your friends borrow games,
Yep.
which we did not very long ago.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah. With Silent Hill and yeah.
I did have my own copy of Life is Strange.
Yes.
But oddly enough, since we did that, I've actually loaned out my Life is Strange twice now
Oh, cool.
because I had two different friends who approached me and said, "I really want to play this. Can I borrow your copy of it?" I said, "Yeah,
You'll have to let
absolutely.
me know what they think of the game.
I absolutely will."
Cool, cool. Yeah,
But
but that's always been a really big thing, especially with like games that are shorter, like 2 or 3 hours or something like
yeah,
that. And if they're not on like some sort of flash sale, or if they're not available anymore, I can just go ahead and give you like my copy of like Detroit if you don't want to get it and just down the 15 hours on it, for example, or
yeah.
whatnot.
There's
Yeah, it
some
doesn't
things that
give.
you'll only play once.
Yeah, that's specifically. Yeah.
Like that, Detroit's an amazing example. Most of those games are a really good example of that because
Mm-hmm.
I mean I finished Heavy Rain once. I
Mm-hmm.
finished
Beyond Two Souls.
actually I didn't play Beyond Two Souls.
Oh, okay.
I did buy it though.
You should probably play it.
Well, we'll see.
You should play Beyond Two Souls, and I should play the Dreamcast one.
Omicron. Actually, I played Omicron twice,
Okay.
but that's only because David Bowie's in it. Um, and it's a great
Mhm.
appearance. We should do it anyways. And Indigo Prophecy. I keep wanting to call it Fahrenheit, but that's what it's
That's
called in.
Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy.
It's Fahrenheit in the UK.
Yeah, but the actual full name of the game is Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, my box says Indigo Prophecy,
Mhm.
but I only finished that once.
Cool.
So yeah, like those are the kind of thing where you would kind of like, even to a degree, Life is Strange.
Mhm.
Because really, I'm personally not going to go back and do everything over again to
Right.
see if I get a different outcome.
Yeah.
I played through it the first time the way that I would have wanted to play through it
Mhm.
any other time.
Yep.
So yeah, if somebody wants to try it out,
Yeah.
absolutely, give it a go. If you like it, cool. I mean, and if that's the thing too, then if somebody likes it, you get that same kind of benefit that you would through someone picking up something for $2 on a sale,
Yeah.
because then you're more likely to pick up
And
something by that studio next time to play it right away.
and arguably, if I were to let you borrow a game, like Life is Strange, and weren't gonna buy it, and then sure you played it for free, but then if you really really liked it, you might end up going out and buying it for yourself because you want to support the developer,
And just to
or
have it in your collection,
at the
if you're
least, yeah,
a collector,
or at the
right?
least check out the next game that comes out
Yeah,
that the developer makes. Right? It's like
yeah.
maybe I'm gonna try Vampire, or I'm gonna try Life is Strange 2, or Remember Me. Like like you're gonna go out and discover the rest of the games that the company makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I actually got into Quantum Dreams. I didn't own the game. I got one of them from somebody I knew, and I played through it. And I'm like, I really really like this. So then I went through and I got a bunch of them. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's our last point about physical media, which is not really something that you can do easily with digital, is reselling your stuff.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know if you can sell. I mean,
you
you
can sell a
could.
console. Like people are selling consoles with like their downloaded stuff and their
Yeah,
account and
actually,
stuff like that.
and I've actually noticed a lot of like some of the I guess the indie game stores in the area
Hmm.
selling Wii consoles
Oh yeah, it's a
that
big
have
one.
stuff on them, and the
Yeah,
prices vary depending on the content that's on the console itself,
yeah.
which I thought was kind of interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah,
But reselling your
you have a
game,
harder time of reselling a digital.
yeah. Like if I wanted to resell any digital thing versus like my copy of Lunar, for example, I'd have a much easier time selling Lunar.
You
Like
would,
it would just it's gonna sell.
yeah,
There is the aspect of like maybe you can't find a buyer, but like in a lot of cases, it's a lot easier. Even for a bare minimum dollar or something like that, you can at least get some money back on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Whereas you'll have a lot harder time to get something digital, play it,
Mm-hmm.
and then resell it.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can buy stuff like you can get a game key
Yeah.
and then not
Yeah. Because I can't
not
give you
use
my
it.
Steam key and sell it to you. I don't think like that's not something you can do.
I think you could probably sell your Steam accounts.
You can sell your account, but not just like
Not just
here's
a
my
single.
Civ 5 Steam key.
Yeah, no,
Give me
you
$20.
can't just. I know that a long time ago they had an issue with people in other countries buying games because
Mm-hmm.
they were cheaper in that country
Oh
and
yeah.
then reselling them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not.
But they're buying a key
They're
versus
buying
actually
a key
having it.
versus
Yeah.
as opposed to actually buying it, playing it, and then reselling it.
Yeah.
It was just like a.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've come up with ways to work
Yeah.
around that now, so it's a little bit harder.
Yeah. I will, in fairness, mention though, because we probably should, that as a developer standpoint and a publisher standpoint, this is kind of a good thing that you can't resell the digital games because they want to sell as many copies as possible.
Yeah, that's true. You
So
get a lot more.
yeah.
You
So it's a double edged sword, but that's
you
one thing that
you
we
kill
like
some
about it.
you kill some retail business.
Yeah.
But then again, uh, those specific businesses' policies of just general policies are not the greatest anyways. So to kind of see dinosaur.
I thought you were trying to make a pun. You could have just kept with it.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I'm a little tired, guys. I apologize. But no, to see that go down, it's not the worst thing ever. It sucks
Mhm.
to see people lose their jobs always, but
Yeah, certainly.
it's I ultimately it's better for the industry, I think overall.
So yeah, some aspects that we liked about it. And let's move on to the second section of our segment, is what we dislike about digital and physical media.
No resale value.
Yeah, I think we kind of summed up this one with our last point. So
None. I mean, yeah, okay.
that didn't segue at all. Yeah, definitely no resale value. And
But really, I mean, yeah, we got that. But the big one for you
mhm.
is the DRM.
Yeah, I really dislike that. And one of the main reasons why I use GOG is because a lot of times games require any sort of DRM, whether it be you have to just have it connected to the internet to ping online just to play the game, to having the client installed, mainly because I want to be able to own the game more holistically, even if it's digital. And also, like, if I don't have access to the internet and I can't play League of Legends, that makes sense. But if I don't have access to the internet because the internet is down and I can't play, I don't know, Legend of Grimrock, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's a solo, or Skyrim. It's a solo experience that I shouldn't have to have connected to the internet just to play the game. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And there
No,
are some cases where some games are are like that, where you have to constantly ping home. And some companies are better at it than others, and Steam has definitely gotten better at it because you do have
yes.
a DRM free-ish option where you have to have, like, I think, launched it from the Steam launcher, but you don't have to have an internet connection.
Yep. Yeah, a
So
lot of times
yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that I play
Hmm.
well, actually I have on my laptop I've got a bunch of Steam stuff that doesn't require a lot of power cuz my laptop's not great,
Yeah.
but it's
That's
like
another
I know
really.
when Jen and I have traveled a
Hmm.
few times, I've taken that with me. And then like I've got access to a bunch of different games
Right.
and I don't need to be online.
Yeah, it's like, cause like I took my Switch whenever I went on like a business trip for a week,
Yeah.
and like if my Switch had to be connected to the internet at the hotel we were at was shit. Like
Oh yeah, hotel internet's always
it,
garbage.
I wouldn't have been able to do anything. Like, they had satellite TV, but that doesn't overly interest me. So it's like,
I played League of Legends in a hotel in Venice,
mhm.
and I think my ping was like 300. Now, granted, I was connecting to North American servers from
Oh,
Europe
okay.
as well, so my ping was garbage. It was like watching a slideshow. I played one game against bots with a friend, and then said, "No, this is horrible. I'll see you when I get back."
Yeah, but yeah, that's the main reason why I dislike digital media, is it just really just comes down to DRM, and that's why I use GOG. But yeah, hard drive space is a con, I guess, because
I mean, again, though, this like kind of comes down to the DRM a little bit
hmm
as well, because you've got stuff that you can't, you have to have on your, you have to have it installed,
hmm
because things will get removed from stores, things can get delisted, and when that happens, if
hmm
you don't have it installed, even if you have it purchased,
yeah,
even if you have a DRM free version of it purchased and
hmm
it's removed,
yeah.
you it's gone.
And to the company's credits, they do give you a warning to the best of their ability. But like, um, this kind of like rolls into our next point a little bit, where some stuff disappears. The Lego Lord of the Rings games disappeared off of the platform. You couldn't buy them anymore. But we got like, I got an email from GOG saying that they weren't going to be available anymore. So if
Yeah.
you wanted them, get them now. But it was like, it was less than a week's notice.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you can
mean,
still get it if you had bought it initially, but yeah,
like
there are issues that happen where stuff just gets
like
deleted.
PT.
Mm-hmm.
PT is
That's a huge
gone.
one.
And like it's sitting in my library, but I had to clear up some space to download something and I'd
Yeah,
already played through it and there was no notice that this is going to be gone. I mean, even if they would have
yeah, it
given
just
24 hours
disappears like
notice, it was
that.
just like gone.
Yeah, and then sometimes it happens silently. For example, the original versions of Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale and the Neverwinter Nights games, no, I could be wrong on this, but like I feel like people didn't overly notice the original BG and Icewind Dale game disappearing off of GOG. Um, and then all of a sudden, some people were complaining about it, but it was kind of quiet because whenever they released the enhanced editions, they got rid of the original editions on the store so that you would just get the enhanced editions. I heard that they were doing it because of to not confuse the customer, but I don't know labeling. But anyway,
I mean, no, granted, I spent a lot of time in retail, and labeling or not, customers can be confused
dumb.
very
Yeah,
easily. I
working at
wasn't gonna
EB
say I
Games,
wasn't
I
gonna say
can attest to
dumb,
that.
but confused very easily is
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Having worked at EB for a good year, that I can attest to that. But yeah, it happened to finish my point to the Neverwinter Nights game, where you couldn't get the original Neverwinter Nights game, and people kind of got angry on the forums, and were just like, "Why can't we buy the original games?" And people were like, "Yeah, we can't do this with the old games either," and it just kind of like silently disappeared. You still have access to them if you originally bought them, but like you can't go to that store and buy it if you
Yeah, it's
didn't get
just
it originally,
it's
which kind of is a little
at
stupid.
least at least it was only delisted as opposed to straight up removed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah,
a bonus, but
but yeah,
it
those are
still does suck a little bit that you
yeah.
can't go and buy the original. Now, granted, I don't. If you have access to the original through the enhanced version,
Mm-hmm.
and the original's $20 and the enhanced is
You don't.
twenty
You don't
bucks.
actually have original
Oh,
through the enhanced,
oh,
but
okay. Well,
yeah.
whatever. It's
But sometimes you do. Yeah, with certain games. Yeah. But yeah, that's some stuff that we dislike about the digital. So we have a few points with physical, and kind of to
just a couple. It was kind
your
of
point.
surprisingly hard to figure out what a giant negative
Mm-hmm.
to the physical. I mean, aside from the
And then
like,
we started looking around.
you got the environmental impact and the like how much like both in terms of like a macro environment
Mm-hmm.
as well as like micro in that it takes up so much space in your personal environment.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of space.
A ton of space. Oh my god. And if you want to have everything out, you've got to like get shelving, and then you feel
Yeah.
like you're constantly buying shelves upon shelves, and now they don't make this shelf anymore, so now I got to buy a different one. Well, now
Mm-hmm.
this one doesn't match, and now all my shit looks weird.
Yeah. Yep.
Ah,
And like I generally only have like 3 or 4 consoles out at a time, and it's like okay, like
just 3 or 4.
but but yeah, and so it's like it'd be insane to have everything out. Like I've seen some people set up, it looks really cool where they've got like a little nook for like each console. They got
But
like
it's
all
it's
of them set
so
up.
incredibly impractical. Like I've seen that
Yeah.
before. Like I've seen a big unit where every little thing is in there.
Mhm.
But when you think of the range on some of those like the cord length
Mhm.
on some of the controllers, that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
You're going to have to like stand in front of the TV to play it.
Mhm.
And I don't want to do that. I want to sit comfortably.
Yep.
So yes, I have my stuff generally wrapped and boxed
Mhm.
and tucked away.
Yep.
And then when I want to play that specific console, I'll
Yeah.
pull it out and I'll hook it up and I can play it the way that I want to.
Mhm.
Um, Granted, do I? Not really.
Mhm.
I mean, I've got a Sega Saturn. I have a Sega Saturn that's been sitting in the corner of my kitchen for
Too long.
at least a year.
It's a weird place to put it.
I know
But
it's
okay.
it's a really weird place to put it. It's not like it. I say it's in my kitchen. I mean, it is in my kitchen, but it's like it's not like sitting next to the sink or something. It's like there's a section over where the like everything drawer. People have everything drawers. I know that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's
Okay.
the bottom drawer of my dresser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
You throw like it's where your batteries go,
Mhm.
or yeah. Anyways, it's right next to my everything drawer, so
Fair enough.
it's not like it's sitting in a towel rack, like in a dish rack or something. It's off to the side, but yeah,
Yeah.
you just it
Mhm.
you feel like everything needs a home.
Mhm.
That's its home. But no, that's the real hard thing I feel
Yeah.
with physical media is that you have all of this stuff and where the hell do you put it?
Yeah. How do you
And
organize it? It
and now
costs a lot of money to properly organize it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just stuffing it in stuffing it in boxes and
Mhm.
tucking it away, and then, well, how do you know? Like, where is it?
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Use an Excel sheet, I guess,
I guess,
and then
and
keep up
there's,
with it.
and there really isn't a good, like, I haven't found. I mean, I have an iPhone.
Hmm.
I will say that. I know you have an Android, but there really isn't a good app to catalog your content. Like, I've
Hmm.
gone through a couple of different ones, and none of them are great. Like, I have one that's okay, but it's very much okay. So,
I used to use an app. We'll talk about this later. You might like it. You can get all of the stuff just scanned in generally via the barcode, and you can
oh,
do it via your phone.
see,
But
that's great.
the problem is it's a subscription service, so it's not a
Okay,
one-time fee. That's why I stopped it. And then, but I think you can still use it if you finish, but you don't get new stuff added to it.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, like there's a comic book version of it, and like it'll add in all the comic books every single week.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's I'll put it up here, but it's pretty good. Um, yeah, I'll talk to you about it later. It's actually pretty good. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, cataloging is a difficulty with
It
that.
sucks.
Yeah. Um, my biggest fear with the collections, with physical collections and it being so
Yeah.
large, is stuff getting damaged, which forces me to get like protector sleeves, like those plastic ones. Like the fear of a Saturn game case being like damaged and shipping because the seller just doesn't care to put it in the
Yeah.
box. Like somebody just like accidentally dropping it or accidentally scratching a disc or like the capacitors dying, batteries leaking, and you having to replace it. It requires a set of knowledge that like you need to know basic electronics to replace a battery and stuff like that so that they don't um, blow up and then leak and get damaged on your circuit boards and stuff like that. And it's just a really big risk in keeping a lot of older stuff. And a lot of the risk comes with not properly storing it. So like this is more applicable for some people than it is for others. But yeah, just the fear of anything getting damaged is very real. And just keeping it in good condition because I feel that collectors have like different categories. They have like their toss copy, their play copy, and then sometimes there's like a collector's copy, where it's like you barely touch the collector's copy. It's in pristine condition. The good copy stuff is like you're trying to keep it in its good copy, and then you just have like, oh, this is a cart with Mario Brothers 1 on it. It's my fourth copy or whatever. Like, you don't really
Yeah.
care about it, but you still want to keep good care of it so it still works. But yeah, you've got a lot of risks with different ways that you can damage it, whether it be a cartridge or a disc or.
Not to jump too far ahead, but it does kind
Mhm.
of lead into one of our other ones is that the physical media is a lot easier to like get stolen.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple of game cases at home that
Hmm.
are empty.
Yeah.
You know, I don't I mean, now granted, this does go way back to the start with
Hmm.
the taking stuff out and putting it in different
Yeah.
cases. But I did spend when I found the two initially, or actually when I found the one, I
Hmm.
spent the entire next day going through every case that I could find
Hmm.
in my house, and I could not find it. So I was both surprised and pretty bummed out
Yeah.
because like a I don't know where this is now. I just have a case. I found an extra case that happened to be empty as well.
Yeah.
Now I've got two things that are missing,
And
and now I've got to be concerned about who actually came in and
right.
who grabbed this.
Yeah,
Like,
and even for people who like travel, like a long time ago, you potentially would have brought your console, right? So
yeah,
then if you have, um, like I just brought my Switch and I always kept my Switch on me.
hmm
But like for like if I brought my PlayStation 4 and then like 4 or 5 games, is the cleaning service gonna steal it? Like you don't know,
yeah,
like.
yeah. Especially going to like a foreign country that
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily have as much.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that everywhere you go, everyone's a bunch of thieves,
No,
but
but the
y-
risk is still
the
there.
yeah, the risk is always there. And if it's something that someone's never seen and they, you know, feel a little, they feel inclined to do so,
Hmm. You just never know, or just
you
terrible
really don't know.
friends,
Yeah,
especially some terrible friends in high school and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, yeah, I want this. Okay.
yeah. I lost a lot of stuff in high school just because of bad friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it really bummed me out. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the major downsides to physical media, I
Yeah.
find.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop me currently from purchasing stuff that way,
Right.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Or even not even stealing, but along the same point where like I let you borrow a game and then like I move away or we just happen to not talk to each other for like
Yeah.
6 months or something like that, and all of a sudden it's like I don't remember if that's yours or mine. That's happened to me a few times too, where it's like, was that DS game mine? I don't remember. Whatever. Like, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
inadvertently lose a game that way too, which is kind of similar, but it's inadvertent, right? So,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
not intentional. Actually, I had a friend of mine say to me a couple weeks ago, she has my copy of Alice
Mm-hmm.
Return to Madness.
Yep.
I think the second one for the 360.
Okay.
And she has had it for longer than I had.
Oh, okay.
I think like she probably borrowed it within the first 6 months of its release,
Right.
and still has it.
Damn.
And it was just one of those like
Yeah.
we both have moved a couple of times. Like we're still around. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's still local, and just happened to mention like, oh my god, I still have this.
Yeah. Whoops.
And I was like, oh, cool. I ended up buying it for the PS3.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I have
So
a
you can
copy,
keep
but
it. No, I
um,
don't know. I can't speak for Ian.
no, I mean I wouldn't mind having it back. But yeah, no, it happens, and it
Yep.
kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't have that issue with digital content.
Mm-hmm. Another bad aspect potentially of having physical media is that sure you can sell it, but you're not necessarily always going to get what you want.
And $3 from EB Games
Yeah, yeah.
seems like a good deal.
Buy and trade. You give us 3 games, we'll give you one.
Yeah.
But
you give us three new releases,
and
three games that have come out in the last 6 months, and we'll give you one.
it's not necessarily just a point to like games that like are potentially worthless, like NHL 04 or something like that. Sorry to the fans, but those games there's so many of them produced that like it's not worth much. But like
No.
even with the games that are worth something, coming back to like a copy of Lunar, if I wanted to sell my original copy of Lunar with the strategy guide, like sure I could get a good dollar for it because it's worth that much, but it's like
It's finding a buyer.
am I gonna find a buyer?
Yeah.
Like you never know. Like maybe I could today, but in 10 years from now, what's Lunar? I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody who already knows and wants what that game is, regardless of what it is, already has it.
Yeah.
So there's nobody searching for it, right? Because sometimes it just really comes down to like nobody really wants it, but people are constantly looking for it for a better condition copy and stuff like that. And that's always a risk because you potentially may never actually get what it's worth if you're planning on maybe selling your games. Because I do know a lot of people who are unlike myself, who just keep all the stuff that they've bought. Like they'll get a PlayStation, and then whenever PlayStation 2 comes out, they sell all their PlayStation stuff, right?
Yep.
And it's like, oh, well, like I thought these games would have been worth a little bit more money or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
irregardless if you sold it to your friend or you sold it online and tried to get the full monetary value for what it's worth, or to EB Games for 25 cents or whatever. It's like, okay, like you're potentially at risk of not necessarily getting as much as what it's worth, irregardless.
Oh, always, always.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you sell it to a decent, I know a guy who recently sold a major chunk of his collection, and he got like decent money for it, but nowhere close to what it was
Yeah.
actually worth.
Yeah.
And that's
Because either
Yeah.
like the person you're selling to is going to turn around and sell it and they need to make a profit.
exactly.
Or dude's your friend and it's like, okay, well, I'll buy it to you for like 60% what it's worth. It's like, is that okay? I don't know. It depends on how good friends you are. It's like,
Yeah.
that might be
Yeah,
a
like
good
if
percentage to go
if
with.
if I know someone who wants to get rid of their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'll look it up on like a price chart,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll find what a
Yeah.
a good box copy sells for,
Yeah.
or a
Check the
disc
trend.
copy, or
Yeah.
whatever whatever condition it's in. If
Mhm.
that's something they want to get rid of and something that I want, I will look up what the current going value is, and that's what I would offer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want it,
Mm-hmm.
and I want someone to get fair value for what their stuff is,
Yeah.
but you're not always going to get into that.
Yeah, for
So
sure. A neutral point between digital and physical media is we kind of went over this, but organizing can still be difficult either way.
yeah, it
Uh,
really can be.
whether we kind of want to emphasize this, whether it's physical or it's digital, especially with more distribution platforms being released and them having exclusive content, because you have like everything from Uplay to the Epic Store to
I
Steam
love
to
that you.
GU,
I
GOG.
I can't express how happy I am that Uplay was the first one you mentioned.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. Or
Uplay.
Origin and any other distributing platforms out there, it becomes difficult to know what you want. For example, if you take a role playing game and it's like, okay, what role playing games do I have? It's like, okay, well, now I gotta go Steam, and then I gotta search GOG, and then I go search the Origin store, and it's like, okay, well, I got Dragon Age over here, and I've got all these games over there, and
Yeah,
I've got these games over here,
it
and
gets tedious. It's frustrating,
mhm,
and you're still in that situation. Like we're still in that situation where not everything has like a cross-play capability.
yeah,
So, I've got a friend who has, uh, you know, Ghost Recon on Steam,
mhm,
and you have Ghost Recon on GOG,
right,
and I have Ghost Recon on Uplay,
right,
and we cannot connect
mhm.
because we're playing it on different platforms.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Um, and that's an interesting debate because like sometimes it's on the distributing platform, a lot of the time it's on the developer though. For example, Paradox Games, their game like Stellaris, for example, and a lot of their games use a Stellaris client, and like my friend can own it on Steam, and I can own it on GOG, and we can play with each other.
Yeah, like there
Yeah.
are like you can play Fortnite together with everybody on your mobile phone, and
Hmm.
like I can play it on my phone and you can play it on your PC or your
Right.
360 or
Yeah. And I think
smart
that
fridge.
that's actually getting better over time as people complain about it.
It's true.
And well, you gotta make your voice heard. People complain about it, and developers actually take action to it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, you can, because there's been a few games where, like, a lot of my friends, they just use Steam because all the games are there,
That I
right?
mean, really that's the
And
same reason why I do too.
I remember I played Divinity Original Sin with my one friend who I play a lot of RPGs with, if they're multiplayer. And I had the GOG version, and he had the Steam version. And my patches were a little bit later for some unknown strange reason. Apparently, according to the forums, is because they didn't process it until after, so the timing was off.
Oh.
They would do the Steam thing, be like, "Oh yeah, we got to do this too." Whatever. But anyway, so I'd have to wait until a patch would update if there would be like a patch discrepancy. But yeah, we were able to play with each other, and it was great. The company actually allowed us, and we didn't need any actual third-party client like the Paradox Games example that I gave.
Yeah.
We just connected via searching for a host, and was one of us hosting a game, and then typing in our default password, and default, not actual default, but one that we constantly use. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, and then we were able to play, which is great.
But it's still, I mean, for me I find it irritating cuz I do have a bunch of different games on a bunch of different platforms on
Mm-hmm.
my PC, and I would much prefer to be able to just go, I'm opening this client to play my games.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's, well, what game do I want to play?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to play any of these. Do I want to play this? Well, I've got to open Uplay now.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to wait for Uplay to update.
It's
Okay,
definitely a mixed bag
there's nothing
because
in Uplay that I want to play.
yeah.
And it's just it was all so incredibly frustrating. And then like on top of that, Uplay itself had to be on it has to be on your primary drive.
Really?
Yeah, you can't like
Wow.
oh yeah, it was Uplay
Okay.
because I was having issues installing Ghost Recon.
Okay.
I got a free copy of it. I didn't pay for it, so I mean, at least that's not a huge complaint.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had tons of issues installing it and then being able to play it because I was trying to put it on my my bulk drive,
Oh, okay.
good old chubby,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's like no, it has to be on like when I looked into it further, it has to be on your primary drive with your operating system on
Yeah.
it. If it's not, you cannot access it. Now maybe that's
That's
something
just
that
bad coding.
yeah, maybe that's something that they have fixed over time,
Yeah.
but I know that that was the issue. And ultimately, I didn't play Wildlands until I picked it up on console. And then even further, I didn't pick it up until I could get it for cheap because I knew I had a copy of it,
Right.
but I had a copy of it that I was having issues getting to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But on the
I guess
opposite
that
side of
actually
that,
brings something to light, coming full circle. That's a good thing about all those the sales. Whereas, like, I own the original copy of it that came out 20 years ago, and I've played it. And then there's been the remaster version. I might wait to play to pay less for the remastered version,
yeah.
even though they did technically do work on it. But yeah, it's something to think about.
But that's, I mean, on the opposite side of that, I've had to use Origins for a couple of things because now you can't get any of EA's stuff
Mm-hmm.
on any other platform other than Origins.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I got my new PC, I wanted something that would kind of push it a little bit. So there wasn't anything that I could see on Steam at the time
Right.
that was like. So I'd grab Battlefield 1,
Okay.
which was probably the 5th or 6th. Anyways,
12,
that's a
whatever.
different argument, but yeah, you know, the transaction was easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
The loading and everything was kind of fine. Like their client isn't bloated and gross like Uplay.
Yeah.
Uplay's annoying. Anyways, no, I that kind of
Everybody has their preferred platform of choice.
that's true.
Let us know what your preferred platform of choice is down below.
And what do you guys think
Yeah.
about all of that stuff? What's your favorite things about digital media
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to physical,
Yeah.
or do you way prefer physical over digital?
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
could go either way.
I definitely see pros and cons of both. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. One thing that has definitely changed over the years with the advent of like digital media being more prevalent and society today is gift giving.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I have a pretty interesting example about this. So my cousin's kid, I buy him video games for his birthday and Christmas, but I air quotes that because like whereas like there'd be a couple examples where like I'll take him out to EB and be like choose a game or whatever, right? So the thing is that oh and hey. Yeah, he watches. So, it was like he'll get a gift card for $100, and then he'll just for the PlayStation Store or whatever, and then he'll go buy whatever game that he wants, right? Whereas like whenever I was young, I would actually get a game, and like he still has some of that experience, but it looks like it's becoming more and more just like actually giving a gift card for the game so
Yeah.
that he can download it, or giving somebody a gift through like the gift giving features through like GOG and Steam, for example. And I just find that's kind of a huge paradox shift between before how it used to work, where you'd always just get the game, versus how it kind of can work now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge change. I mean, even for me, I
Hmm.
find that if someone gets me a gift for something,
Yeah.
I'm more likely to get a card
Hmm. Yeah, for
for
sure.
it's
And personally, I really like gift cards because then I can get whatever the hell I want versus what you think I want. So
but at
there
the
is
same
that pro
time
too.
it's kind of cool. It's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, wow, someone went out to a store,
Yeah.
looked at a wall of games, rolled the dice and said, "Hey, maybe he'll like this one."
Yeah, and to
And
kind
then
of
wrapped it up and threw it in my face.
yeah.
Or threw it in a gift bag and threw it in my face instead of just like, "Oh man, I've got to get a gift for this guy. All right, I'm going to go to the drugstore.
Right.
Here's a gift card, here's a card. Wham."
Hmm.
Like don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't appreciate it. I still do.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
like opening up a card and getting anything from like a League of Legends points card to a PSN card, a Steam card, an
Yeah.
iTunes card. I don't care. It's like cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get something with this,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna get something that I want. But
And
you still, it's that total, like, getting a gift as a kid for me,
mhm.
and seeing that it was game shaped,
Yeah.
and then tearing it open and being like, cool.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't something that I had on my, like, I don't know, little kid radar.
Right. Yeah.
If it was still a game that I was like, oh, I'm gonna go play this immediately.
Yes.
Whereas now it's like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna scratch this later
Uh-huh.
and put it
Yeah.
in. Like, we ran into an issue. My wife got me a $50 PSN card
Mhm.
for, I think, my birthday,
Mhm.
and the dude had rang everything in wrong,
Oh, really?
and the
Oh, man.
code did not work.
I always double ask. I'm like, did you activate this? Oh, we don't have to activate this. Are you sure you didn't have to activate this?
Yeah, so it ended up, it was nothing.
Right.
It was a blank card, and there was no receipt because it wasn't on, like,
Mhm.
So
That
it
sucks,
ended
man.
up being like, she's like, oh, and she was super bummed out about it, and I'm like, don't worry, it's no big deal. Like, I don't
Mhm.
care. I got my wife. She's gift enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, you can end up in situations like
Yeah.
that where it doesn't work.
Right.
Whereas if it's like a physical game and it
Yeah.
doesn't work, you can just be like, fix this, store, and they'll
Yeah.
give you a new one.
Like Micro Machines. That's a bad story.
It was broken anyways. But
But one thing I wanted to say about the gift giving as the last point, kind of meeting halfway, which I kind of wanted to point out because I wish people would enhance this feature, is you can actually gift a specific game to somebody. So, like, I could say, okay, here's a copy of Baldur's Gate for Christmas, right? But I can't.
only the enhanced edition.
Yeah, only the enhanced edition. But it's I can't actually buy it a couple months beforehand and then gift it to you and schedule it to give to you on that day. They don't do that service. I remember talking with customer service on GOG. I'm like, why can't I schedule this for Christmas? Like, oh, just buy it for them on Christmas. So I ended up having to wake up early on Christmas and then like buying everybody like games and then like sending them the keys. I'm like, Merry Christmas. Like, here you go. And it's like, so because I got everybody like a $20 game or something like that, right? I'm like, I
Yeah.
think you like this game. I think you like that game, which is just similar to the fact of like, oh, cool, a new game. I'm gonna go try this out. But like, yeah, I can't schedule it. It's so annoying. Oh man, I could buy it for myself and then buy myself a key and then send you the key, but I couldn't do that because they wouldn't allow me to double buy it. I thought that would be a workaround, but yeah. Anyway, it's kind of a halfway workaround, which is
And I
kind of
mean,
cool.
it has been an interesting thing, especially with the Steam store and some of their really weird content, is because, like, a couple of my friends and I, as I mentioned in an earlier episode,
Yeah.
when we find something that's super weird,
Yeah.
we'll, like, send it. I bought so many copies of Genital Jousting and sent it to so many people.
Mhm.
Like, if I had you on Steam when that came out, I probably sent you a copy of Genital Jousting.
Yeah.
It was like $2, and it's a whole bunch of dicks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is hilarious. Everyone get this game. But yeah,
Yeah.
I like that you. But yeah, the aspect that you can't have a timed delivery on it
Yeah.
is kind of a bummer because you really can with everything else.
Yep.
But the thing that kind of has really, like, I find has drastically changed
Right.
outside of the gift giving is just the way digital media is looked at this point. Like, I remember having an Xbox Live and having an Xbox 360,
Right.
and with Live, they had the arcade,
Right.
which they initially was like a couple of games,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like old games, and you're paying in points and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You got to always make sure you have Microsoft points to
Yeah.
buy your stuff, which, granted, I did like the points because then you didn't think about how much you were actually paying for something. So
Yeah.
kind of a bonus. But yeah, like, initially you only had these, they were like kind of trickled out. You had a very small library of stuff, and it tended to be like you had re-releases of old things, and then you
Right.
also got newer independent stuff
Mm-hmm.
that, yes, may have been on the PC, but for someone who didn't have a PC at the time,
Mm-hmm.
or like a good one,
Yep.
it's still something that you wouldn't have experienced otherwise.
Mhm.
And with Xbox, they used to do the Summer of Arcade,
Right.
which would be like a 5-week long event, and each week they would release a different arcade game, and they
Yeah.
would be hyping these things up
Mhm.
like a month in advance. So you're getting hyped about these indie games, which you're gonna pay like $20 for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's stuff that wouldn't be available in a store,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting this hype for stuff. And yeah, some of the games sucked. Some of them were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I know they really hyped up the reissue of Monkey Island
Right.
the one year, and then the following year they did Monkey Island 2,
Okay.
which I thought was really cool, and they were enhanced editions, which
Mm-hmm.
was fantastic. Two amazing games. Go play them. But you have that. Whereas now with the digital marketplaces, I find their big hypes are always around like major releases.
Yeah.
And then on
Or even
top
if
of
they're
that,
not major releases, they're around like AA games, which are like very close to like AAA games.
like if you look on PSN right now,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably going to see something for like Days Gone still,
Mm-hmm.
or Rage 2.
Mm-hmm.
They will be pushing that huge.
Right.
And like you go to any of their digital marketplaces, you're going to see these huge releases
Yeah,
getting
for
hyped
sure.
up. You're not going to see the little independent stuff. To find the little independent stuff now, you almost have to go searching.
Yeah.
And
And that's becoming a big problem on Steam too, where like it's hard to find a lot of the stuff because it's easier to make digital content, so it's so much more of it. It
yeah,
becomes harder to filter through
you have
to see
these
what you want.
bloated marketplaces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Steam, if you turn on your safe search, you'll really cut down that marketplace, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll lose out on all the boobs. Um, but yeah, no, like even the console marketplaces are fairly bloated,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's one of the issues that I have with the Switch
Right.
is there is a ton of content on it, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that there's a ton of content, but it's sorting out the chaff.
Yeah.
Like
It's being able to filter out what you want and find exactly what you want.
yeah,
The amount of content is the great thing. The bad thing, I think, what you're trying to getting at is actually filtering it for what you want. Because what you want isn't necessarily what I want, or necessarily what you want. You know what I mean? Like
it's true.
it's
Well,
different per
it's
person.
it's almost to me the Switch kind of looks a little like the Switch marketplace looks a little bit like a Toys R Us Wii section,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like a whole pile of shovelware, which they wanted to be able to. They wanted so much more content in their marketplace, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, but in doing so, they ended up with a whole lot of crap there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sorting out like, okay, is this a mobile game that's been ported over to Switch
Right.
that's now $10 instead of the $1 that it was on like the on iTunes?
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's why I
it's a
like
bit of a pain sorting.
That's why I like the weekly newsletter that they send out, because then it kind of like helps to filter it based off
Yeah,
of games that I've played, I think. So,
and then you get the like little sales and stuff like that where you might see independent stuff, but
mm-hmm.
more likely than not, you're seeing a big push on your huge AA and AAA titles in their
Mm-hmm.
marketplaces, and not so much on the big pushes on smaller
Yeah.
releases. You're more likely to hear about a smaller release from a friend or
Mm-hmm.
from us, your friends.
Yep.
We'll talk about those, but it's you discover them now,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
and less hype. So
Yeah.
that's
There is definitely
the
something
big
to be
change.
said about word of mouth. So,
Yeah, but that's a big change for me. Like
mm-hmm.
it's cool seeing it grow,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that we were both talking about prepping for this episode was that it really gets rid of the middleman, or at least an aspect of the middleman, where you don't have to go out to the store and go to the shelf and buy it, and go out in public and and see people. But you know what I mean. Like
I mean,
it's
for
just.
some people, that's a huge bonus.
Hmm.
For me, I always enjoyed the experience of going to a game store.
Yeah, I always liked. It's kind of a funny story actually. I always liked going to the EB games and like reading the backs of every single case, because before, like in the Super Nintendo to early PlayStation 2 era, it wasn't just screenshots on the back. It actually gave you like points about the game
Yep.
and screenshots that weren't just CG.
Yeah.
Like it was from the videos, it was actual gameplay. So I'd like read them all. And I used to go into an EB Games store with my friend all the time, to the point where like they thought like I was reading all of the backs of the cases, and then they thought we were brothers, and then I would like read them all, and then like he would buy the game. Yeah, and apparently he found out that we weren't brothers, and then he got mad at me because I never bought anything. But anyway, but yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny. I always really enjoyed spending time like actually reading the backs of the cases, sitting there in electronics boutique at the time. But yeah, and like it was kind of like reading the magazines and stuff like that because you
Yeah.
actually got points on the games, which is now similar to the digital storefronts where you actually have like useful information about the game, and it's like, oh, I like these points, I like those points,
And gameplay videos as well.
yeah,
You can access them right there. Like it is kind of handy.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you've got those. Yeah, the gameplay videos are so useful. Yeah, and
Speaking of discussions that we had
yep.
ramping up to this,
We just we have interesting thoughts on 90% sales and whether or not it's good. I think it's kind of on the fence as to whether or not we agree to disagree, but a couple of major points that we found with this is that personally, and yes, I have like 350 GOG games, and no, I have not played them all. But I didn't necessarily buy. I probably bought maybe half of them on sale.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, like a third of those games, are games I used to have as a kid. So I rebought them so I'd have a digital version of them. But I find it really stupid how people have like 1,000+ games in Steam and have never played them. That's really dumb to me. Where they've only played like 5% of their collection. It's like they have 0 hours played on them. And yes, there are some games where like I will probably never play it.
I mean,
But
there's physical games that I've bought that I have 0 hours played on.
yeah.
Like I have physical games that are still sealed.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, on the opposite side of that, you still have that argument. And like for me,
Yeah.
I mean, at
And
least
I find that stupid too, where like I have all these Nintendo games and like I've played some of them less than 2 hours. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I get what it is, throw it back because it only cost me $2. Right?
Yeah.
Or I got it in a collection of other games. It's kind of dumb.
It is, but I mean, for me, especially with the 90% off sales that we were discussing, for me, it's you're generally not seeing something drop by 90% when it's in its first like until like at least like 6 months to a year
Yeah.
since its release, and at that point, its sales have already died off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a resurgence in sales for the developer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sales that they wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're hitting, and then on top of that, you're gonna move if it's a decent game, and it's gonna start building up some hype over the course
Yeah.
of that sale. You're gonna see a huge movement, like in quantities
it
getting
potentially
sold.
reaches people who wouldn't have seen it otherwise.
Exactly, and it's like we were
Which is-
talking about
we were
much
talking about
earlier.
earlier,
Yeah,
too.
is
Yeah.
that you're gonna now you'll see those people kind of, oh wow, this is really really good.
Mm-hmm.
Their next game's coming out soon. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
So you kind of get that now.
And the developers are very aware of this because, like, this year's PAX East, I think, the Skybound Entertainment had a panel which I watched, which had a person from Beamdog, Skybound, and someone else, but you can look it up in their panels. And they were talking about basically selling your indie game and stuff like that and getting a publisher and whether or not to get a publisher. And they take that in consideration where they say a year and a half later after the game has been released, you have 2 points in a lot of sales. One is whenever it first comes out to the general hype, then it immediately plateaus, and then it comes back up again whenever you have like your winter sale, your Steam sales.
Yep.
And you do sell it at a massively reduced rate. And then you do get more potential people who wouldn't have come there beforehand. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic of it because before you would never get that. A game would sell on the PlayStation 1 or the Super Nintendo, and then sometimes if it was really popular, you get like a collector's edition. Like not collector's edition, but collector's
Collector's Choice,
choice.
which is a reissue
player's
that's usually about
choice or-
$20.
yeah.
or what? Yeah,
It
they were
depends
usually
on
around
the
like $30
time
or
of the
so.
console of it, but it
But
was
yeah, they were always
reduced rate.
cheaper.
But that game had already sold like 1 million copies or
Yeah,
half a
exactly.
million copies or something. I don't really know what the selling criteria of it was, but then you'd be able to get Super Mario Galaxy like again later as a cheaper if you didn't get it the first time around or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
so it's always something that's kind of been done,
yeah, but
but at
now it's
least
done
this
more
is
frequently.
yeah, and in greater volumes.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, you're more likely to see
Yeah.
it's I think it's positive.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that a huge price discount out of the gate is detrimental to a developer.
Yeah, that's dumb because like Druidstone just came out and I bought it and it was 15% off on the first day. Why?
I mean,
I don't understand.
and
Like,
we
sure, it's only
just
15%, but like, why? I don't think the price was different on any other platform. So like, why
now
bother?
a day one sale. You do see sometimes you'll see stuff like $5 or
Yeah.
sorry 5% or 15%
Mm-hmm.
off in the on the first day,
Yep.
or even sometimes in the first week leading up to it,
I get it's an incentive to try and get you to buy it, but like, I would have
prior
gladly.
to its release,
Yeah.
or like immediately at its release, because that's really when you're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
We could go on about this all day, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't think, I think seeing like a 40% reduction to see someone buy it out the gate, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's because we recently, Borderlands 3 and mm, Vampire the Masquerade
Bloodlines too.
Bloodlines 2
Yep.
pulled their games from the Epic store
Yeah, you
because
told me about this. I
they
wasn't
wanted
unaware.
Epic was going to push them as part of their like Epic Mega Sale
Mm-hmm.
to compete with the Steam Summer Sale,
Right.
and they were going to be released at a drastically reduced price point.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, because that's going to do is hurt their
Their bottom
sales
line.
later
Yeah.
on. That's gonna they're gonna sell a couple, like probably all of their stuff immediately right there,
Yeah.
and then anyone who's purchasing it on another platform is gonna say, no, I'm not gonna pay $70 or $80 for this on the PS4 when
Yeah, I
it's
think that one
thirty
collection that I
dollars
was
on.
showing you was like 120. Was the
Yeah, there was
one?
like $120 digital thing for
Yeah.
Vampire, which cool, but I would be way more. I'm like, well, this is $40 over here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to play it over there, but I'm gonna wait a couple months because it'll be $40
Mm-hmm.
where I want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're gonna see people
Or doing
dropping
a
the
transfer
price
ship, and then they're gonna just end up getting less
people will
money
drop the
later.
price to match,
Yeah.
and then the developer just eats it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're not gonna make another one.
Yeah, I'm really glad the developers like stood their ground on that one.
Yeah, me too. Like that's
Especially with like, yeah, that game's gonna be huge, the Bloodlines 2 game, because the first one, the Masquerade, is definitely a big game.
yeah, it's got a big kind of a cult following, but a big
Mm-hmm.
one. And I mean, Borderlands 3 is just gonna be massive
For sure.
So, but I mean, there's good and bad on both sides. What are your thoughts, guys? What
Yeah.
do you how do you feel about massive sales? Do you have hundreds of games in your Steam or GOG library that you've never
Yeah.
played?
Yeah. Let us know down below. But yeah, if you made it this far in the video, help us out by giving us a thumbs up. It definitely helps the channel out to grow and get noticed by the algorithm. And if you're new to the channel, if you made it this far, you may as well subscribe. Yeah, we release videos weekly on Wednesday. And yeah, we'll see you next week.